Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek-Stew, and today, guys, welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy Theories with Ike. That is right. So, first and foremost, sorry, alright, so I'm sorry for not making a video for a little while. I know that there's been sort of a delay, if you will. I think the last video I did was last week of August or so, but I know I didn't make a video the last 2 weeks. That first week. So, real quick, I am going to just explain, where I've been real quick, and then everything else. So, it might take a couple minutes. So, if you don't want to hear about this bullshit, go ahead and skip a few minutes, and we'll start talking about the fear theory. But, anyhow, first week of September, basically, or last week of August, first week of September, our AC went out, actually. So when our AC went out, it got so hot here because we live in Florida now. So, it's about, 90 degrees outside, hot as shit, and AC went out, and it was just miserable. It was a very unbearable experience, and I couldn't imagine trying to put out a video sweating like a fucking, oh my God. It was like a sauna in here, sweating like a mofo. So I couldn't imagine trying to put out a video sweating as much as I was, and I also couldn't imagine wearing a sleeveless shirt because I had to wear sleeveless shirts while, existing because it was hard. So I skipped that, and then the next week, we decided to travel around Labor Day to go see my family because we hadn't seen them in a while since last November, actually. Right before my dog had his tail amputated, which if you want to hear that story, I actually have a video up on YouTube about it. It's pretty great, actually. So basically, I haven't seen them in about a year, so we decided we wanted to go see them. I work remotely, so my work is pretty flexible, so I was able to, do what I needed to do to work. Got to see them for a little while, and then I was able to come back, and by the time that all of that was said and done, I was just really out of it. And so, basically, I just didn't have the time nor bandwidth to a theory and everything else. And so I just really was like, okay, I'm just going to take a couple weeks break, do what I can do. But with that in mind, I am finally back now. I'm going to try and keep pumping out these theory videos. So when this video goes up, it'll go up on the 16th, which is Friday, September 16th. That's actually my birthday. I'll be 27 this Friday. I know I look 38, but I'm only 27, I promise. But yeah, so 27 this Friday. When you guys see this video, it will be my birthday. So wish me happy birthday. Or don't, I don't care. But yeah, so you guys, you watch this on my birthday. I actually have a half day off from work that day. Little inside look into my life. I'm actually going to set up a bank account down here, which, maybe not what I want to do on my birthday, but you got to do some adult stuff sometimes. But anyhow, it's going to be my birthday, and today is actually going to be sort of a test run, if you will. So this isn't going to be a normal theory. This is going to be a theory that more bridges on the side of religion. Now, this is a pretty surface level theory. This is not super deep, but I wanted to test the waters a little bit with this theory. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I had somebody actually reached out to me personally on Facebook through Messenger, which if you guys want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. I'll respond to you. But they reached out to me on Messenger on the Facebook page, and sort of long story short, they got in touch with me. They kind of gave me some thoughts and opinions on the content, and they kind of gave me an idea of what they wanted, or they wanted to see, if you will. And they wanted to see more religious-related content. So this is going to be kind of a test run, see how this video does. I may do some other more deeper theories or maybe some darker theories, but this one's pretty lighthearted for the most part. It isn't like a super dark, like, oh, we're all going to hell, type theory. But this is a Christian-based, Abrahamic-based religion theory that I think is actually kind of important to talk about because it definitely kind of puts into perspective how the church has characterized people over the years. So today we're actually going to be talking about Mary Magdalene. So before we get started, I just want to go ahead and throw it out there that I wouldn't classify myself as a Christian. That doesn't mean that I don't know anything about Christianity, though, because I was raised in the faith. I was in the church as young as, kindergarten, basically until the time that I graduated high school. Even after that, I went semi-regularly. So I've been in the faith for I would say, about 15 years before I would say that I deconstructed a lot of my beliefs, and I did leave the church. Now, I do still believe that there is a afterlife. I do still believe in a spiritual aspect of some kind, but there's a lot that I can't come to terms with when it comes to the Christian religion, so I don't prescribe to any really Christian belief, nor do I really believe in the Bible, but
you need Jesus!
I do know a lot about it. I have learned a lot about it, and for a short period, I did almost go to college for seminary and things of that nature to, become a pastor. And, I really haven't talked about this a lot, but this is just how my belief systems kind of unfolded and where I am now. But with that in mind, I wanted to give that pretext that before anyone jumps in here and is like, oh, you've never read the Bible. I have read the Bible. I know quite a bit about the Bible. I'm not an expert, not a theologian, but I do know quite a bit. And so a lot of this information I kind of already knew, but I wanted to go ahead and give that a little bit of pretext to what we're about to talk about. Also, don't jump in my comment section talking about me being blasphemous. I don't believe in what you believe, so I'm not being blasphemous. Maybe to you I am, but I don't want to hear it. I'll just delete your comments. I also really don't want to hear anybody bitching and moaning about like, oh, you're just talking about stupid stuff now, blah, blah, blah. This is a test run. I want to try and test other content on this channel. So anyways, I'm not going to keep moaning and groaning about it. Let's get into the context of the theory. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some context. I do have to mention a couple of things. First and foremost, there are a lot of books of the Bible that may not have been included for one reason or another. We'll talk about a couple of these, but these are considered non-canonical books of the Bible. These are books that So basically the books that are in the Bible that we're kind of familiar with, that is part of the current biblical canon, if you will, because it has changed. I will say that the biblical canon has changed over the years. The current agreed upon continuity is sort of like the current canon. So that's basically what the current Bible believes. That's what the current Christian and Christianity believes, just generally speaking. So keep that in mind. There are some books that were removed for one reason or another, or maybe they just couldn't agree upon them. I don't know. But regardless, that did happen. That has happened and will probably continue to happen as years go on. But in the current Christian theology, the continuity of Christian theology, Mary Magdalene is often believed to be a prostitute. So I want to preface this by saying that I don't personally believe this, actually, and we'll kind of get into that. But this thought process actually began in 591 when Pope Gregory I basically made a tie between Mary Magdalene and Mary of Bethany and an unnamed sinful woman who anointed Jesus' feet in the book of Luke. So starting off, before we even get to the meat of the theory, we already have the Pope messing shit up, which is great.
Whore.
And this is obviously not to disparage Catholicism or to condone it, but, this was definitely miscalculation on the Pope's part, because he basically did a whole sermon about how Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. It's not specifically about that, but that's sort of an important part. But given the era that this was done in, it definitely was an attempt to hide or downplay Mary's actual contributions to the Bible, and also to the, honestly, to Jesus, as her contributions as a believer and follower of Jesus. So with that out of the way, now we want to kind of talk about what the theory is. So first and foremost, Mary, most likely, like 95% sure, was not a prostitute. The reason she's thought is because of the aforementioned Pope's sermon. That being said, she most likely wasn't a prostitute, and she was most likely made out this way to downplay her role and to hide stuff about her. Now, I think that generally speaking, the reason that this is important is that the way that the Bible is considered, how the Bible is edited, and how the canonicity of the Bible is understood is often influenced by man. I think there's also a huge under theory that basically the Bible is not, you can't take the Bible at 100% because the Bible has been messed with so much, but that's a whole nother theory for a whole nother day. But 100%, the concept of Mary Magdalene being a prostitute is not fully supported by the Bible, and in a lot of cases it's definitely been misconstrued as such, and it is safe to assume that the reason that they did this was to more than likely downplay her role in the Bible because she's a woman. But there's also the little bit of a deeper theory, the more stringent part of this that kind of talks about who Mary Magdalene actually was. So what are they hiding, you might say? What is it that they're trying to hide about Mary Magdalene that they don't want us to know? So it's often believed that she was in fact an apostle to Jesus and maybe even more. A couple of things to aid this theory is that she is mentioned 12 times in the canonical Gospels, more than any of the apostles and more than almost any other woman in the Bible, other than, of course, Jesus' family, Mother Mary, pretty important figure in the Bible, I'd say. But in the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and the Gospel of Mary, mind you, these are 3 non-canonical Gospels of the Bible, portray Mary as an apostle of Christ, as well as Jesus' closest and most beloved apostle, also the only one that truly understood his teachings. So with that in mind, it's a very interesting thought to process, that her being a prostitute who followed Jesus' teachings versus a fully fledged apostle is definitely a very stark contrast between the two ideas. One idea, not to obviously downplay, because obviously in the year of 2022, sex work is work. You know what I mean? That's a fact. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but definitely prostitutes were a lot different in the biblical times than they are now and what we do now, right? So I don't want to downplay that, that part of it, because obviously we're not talking about in the context of 2022. We're talking about the context of a much, much different age and time. So back then, a prostitute was definitely not a good thing. They were definitely looked down upon. They were definitely considered less. And back in that time, if you were a prostitute, that was just how people thought of you. So when you look at it with the context of that time, being a prostitute's a bad thing. So they made her out to be this to make it out to her being, bad, versus her not actually being a prostitute, her just being an apostle of Christ, which is definitely supported by the canonical Bible, but also non-canonical scriptures of the Bible as well. There is another thing to look at. So there is, this is probably what's going to get me the most shit, if I had to say. This will definitely get me the most shit out of anything else, because obviously I know that this isn't fully supported by any text. It's honestly more supported by fiction than anything else, but I think it's important to mention. There are a number of Gnostic texts, also known as Gnostic Gospels, which if you don't know what Gnosticism is, it's a lot of things, but the biggest difference and departure from traditional Christianity is Gnosticism focuses on the eradication of ignorance versus Christianity is the eradication of sin. Anywho, they depict Mary as Jesus' companion, as the disciple that Christ loved the most, the one that Jesus kissed on the mouth. So you may see where this is going. But one of the bigger theories that's definitely disputed is that Jesus was married or even further had children. Obviously, there's no proof that he did. There's no proof that he didn't. A lot of people just assume that he didn't because, simply speaking, he was part God, and it wouldn't fit the rest of the context of basically it wouldn't fit the narrative of modern Christianity, the Gospels, to say that Jesus would have children. So, but it's often theorized that Mary Magdalene could have been the theory or the wife of Christ. Now, before anyone drops the comments and starts landing to me about how this is wrong, I know that a lot of people dispute this and may even get offended, and I don't mean it to be rude, but don't. Just don't comment about it, all right? If you don't like it, close the video, give it a thumbs down. I don't give a shit. But it isn't meant offensively. It's just a theory. As well, I don't think this is the case since most popularity around this theory is due to the movie The Da Vinci Code and the book. The theory that Jesus was married and had children, it had, It's interesting, but obviously I don't think it's true. Personally, I don't think that Jesus was married and had children. I think it's a good story. It's a good story to kind of bring up in the context of the Bible, but I don't necessarily think that it's a true story. I do, however, 100% believe that Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute and was most likely an apostle of Christ, but given the climate and the, how they treated women in the old days, they probably didn't really care for her being a woman and being an apostle, and were like, negative. But, interesting theory nonetheless. Do what you want with that theory, with what you will. But that's essentially all there is to it. Jesus probably had another apostle named Mary Magdalene, and most likely the Catholic Church buried that because they didn't really like women, I guess. So long story short, there's a lot of good conversation about the canonicity of the Bible and how people and how things are determined in the Bible. Beyond that, there are just certain things that are said and how people are represented in the Bible, despite there being no proof of it. And I think the story of Mary Magdalene being a prostitute is a very large disservice to who she was, her relative importance to the gospel, and even Jesus. So I think that Jesus having a wife is cool. It's fiction. But I think the real injustice here is that Mary Magdalene was relegated to being a prostitute rather than apostle of the apostles as we know her to be. Anyhow, believe this if you want to believe this. Tell me I'm stupid if you think I'm stupid. But I think it's a very important conversation to have that, the Bible is edited to reflect the author's beliefs and the beliefs of the time period. A lot of people like to say that the Bible is absolute and this, that, and the other. And I just think that it's a disservice to themselves as well as the Christian faith to think that of the Bible. The Bible is a very fluid text. Even I knew that during my learnings of Jesus and Christianity. But anyhow, that's the theory. The theory here, the biggest theory here, is that Mary Magdalene was in fact not a prostitute. And this may very well be a surface level theory, and I definitely don't mean to offend anybody. I don't think this would offend anyone unless you don't like women. But I think it's a very important conversation to have about the canonicity of the Bible and how things are, portrayed given certain time periods. Don't even get me started on the whole homosexuality in the Bible. Maybe I'll talk about that one day. I don't think I want to prepare myself for the downvotes I'd get on that. But anyhow, that's the theory. That's what I'm sticking with. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Did you enjoy hearing about this theory about religion? Did you enjoy me talking about it? Is this something you'd want to see more of, or do you like more of the other stuff? I really do want to know, genuinely. This is sort of a test run, if you will, because I really, I've been trying to think about how I want to proceed with the, the overarching concepts of, my channel, and conspiracy theories are a really big, part of my channel and how I got to where I am now. But I do want to evolve, and if part of that evolution involves talking more about religious concepts, I don't mind. But I do want to know what you guys think. Did you like this theory? Did you like the video? Did you not like it? Do you hate me? You want me to go jump off a bridge? My mom's a hoe. My mom's a hoe. Is that what they used to say back in the Xbox days? I slept with your mom, dude. Or,
I banged your mom, bro.
Whatever the fuck they do. Anyhow, I think I'm hip with the kids, but I guess I'm not anymore. I'm not on fleek anymore. Turning 27 does that to you, I guess. But anyhow, before I offend anyone for the just bullshit that I say, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Give us a share on the video. Share it with your friends. Tell your friends. Like and follow us on social media. We have a Discord. It's kind of dead right now, but if y'all want to join it up and boot it back up, I'm here for that. But yeah, like and subscribe, share, follow us on social media, Discord. I think I covered everything, so I guess that's it. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay awesome. We will see you in the next one. See ya.